Welcome back to Cultivating Contentment. We are moving on to week 2, and week two's topic is restless souls. So, this is the introduction to that, day 1. I want to show you before we get started that I have my teddy bear right over my shoulder. That was our trinket to treasure from last week. So, I wanted you to see that I have mine right there as a reminder that maybe we don't need to search for that just right thing, that Christ is our just right. So, um, our scripture verse for this week is a little bit more uplifting than the one that we had from Job last week. This is coming from 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verses 3 through 5. And it's coming from the Message, and it really is the last part of that 3 through 5. The Spirit of God whets our appetite by giving us a taste of what's ahead. He puts a little of heaven in our hearts so that we'll never settle for less. I just, when I read that, I'm like, oh, that is so exciting. He just whets our appetite. He gives us just a little glimpse every once in a while of what heaven is going to be like. And, that keeps us going so that we don't settle for something less than heaven. So for this week, I want you to think about what smell or sight or sound brings back pleasant memories of your childhood. So I'll give you a minute to think about that, and then I'll share mine. So for me, that smell that takes me back to my childhood is applesauce. Um, it it's kind of funny. When it well, I say that, but the story is going to sound sad at first. But when my mom passed away, my niece was talking to all the grandkids, and she said, "So, what's that thing, that smell that you remember from Grandma?" And I think every last one of them said applesauce, because my mom always made applesauce. We had warm applesauce whenever we went to her house or for those, special dinners that we had. And so every single person said applesauce. And so for me, that was it too. So whenever I smell applesauce, and I make applesauce now, but whenever I smell it, I'm transported back to my childhood and, special memories with my mom. So let's shift gears here just a little bit and talk about homesickness. So homesickness, it's a longing for something that's precious and familiar to us. It's the sadness that overwhelms us when we're lost and alone. It's a wave of nostalgia, a bittersweet ache, a flood of memories that overtake us suddenly. Have you ever been in the middle of something, just puttering around, when suddenly you're transported to a time or place long ago? It doesn't really take much. Sometimes it's a sound. It might be the slap of a screen door. It might be the tune of the ice cream truck as it goes by. It might be, the opening chords of a hymn. Sometimes it's a smell. So like I said, for me, it was applesauce. It might be sawdust. That's another one for me, the sawdust, because my dad was a carpenter, and that smell just brings back such good memories for me. I love to go to Home Depot and just smell the smells over in the lumber department. Um, it might be baking bread, or it might be even school paste for some of us. Definitely not that one for me. Sometimes it's a forgotten but familiar sight. The bedroom that you slept in when you were a child. Or maybe an album filled with those fading photographs. Or maybe it's the camp where you first experienced some independence. But have you ever experienced that homesick feeling for a place that you've never been? Or a face that you've yet to meet? That sounds kind of funny, but it sometimes it happens when we're in the middle of something else and suddenly we're transported. It's the sight of something so beautiful that it makes us cry. It's the moment in the midst of a worship service when we catch a fleeting glimpse of heaven's glory. It's the thrill of understanding when a passage of scripture shifts right into focus for us. It's the sense of wonder that throbs through us when we see the caring of which the community of Christ is capable. At those moments of homesickness, our yearning for heaven is so intense. Um, in these days that we're living in, this pandemic, um, we're seeing, especially that when we see the caring of which the community of Christ is capable. Um, I'm overwhelmed sometimes by just the caring of people in general. Maybe they're not Christians, but like for example, for me, twice a week I go up to Port Huron to my high school, and we hand out food for the kids. The parents just have to drive through, tell us how many kids they have, and we just give them food and send them on their way. And just the response of people that have come and just to help, just to hand out food. It's just really, really a cool thing to be part of. Like I go up twice a week, and I volunteer to do that. I don't have to do it, but I want to do it because I see some of my students, I see some of my former students, and just the like touching base with them, brings a smile to my face. It brings a smile to their face. And just the camaraderie between the people that are helping with it's just so fun, that I don't want to miss out on that. And for kind of a spiritual thing, it really is in the midst of a worship service where that happens for me a lot of times. Maybe getting lost in the worship music and just getting that little glimpse of heaven and of what's to come. So this week we're going to be talking about how he whets our appetite and getting that glimpse of heaven. But I really want you to think about, while you're answering the questions, is heaven our ultimate goal? Like, is that what we should be living life working towards? Or should we be living our life as Christ, guided and showed us his example? Should we be doing that? Like, what is our goal here on earth? Is it just to live a life to get to heaven? Or is there more to our life than just that end reward? So I want you to kind of think about that as you go through the questions that we're going to talk about throughout this week. So we'll just get right to the first question for the week. So this first question is, what kinds of things do you look for to satisfy the restlessness in your heart? What is it that calms you? What is that thing that takes the restlessness away? And then question 2, when we long for God and we have a spirit-led urge to seek him out, what else does our inner self long for, according to Psalm 84:2? So, we have that longing for God, and hopefully you haven't. That provides an urge to seek him out. That's that whetting of our appetite. So what else do we long for? What does the psalmist tell us that we're longing for? So again, I really look forward to your comments this week, and feel free to post and to respond to other people, and there'll be more questions coming tomorrow. So stay safe and have a good night.